This is genuinely embarrassing for the NHL as another player gets hurt at the hands of the Florida Panthers and Sam Bennett, and it has media members, fans, players all speaking out on the situation. We're going to break down exactly what happened and why the NHL should be embarrassed about it. We're going to break it all down in this episode of Hattrick HQ, but before we do that, a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. About 72% of you who watch these videos are not subscribed to the channel, so if you want to stay up to date with everything that's happening around the NHL, with the Toronto Maple Leafs, with the Florida Panthers, as the playoffs rage on, and obviously a very interesting draft lottery as well. If you want to stay up to date with everything that's happening in the NHL, be sure to hit that subscribe button. But Mark, let's jump right into it. Everybody knows what happened at this point. Sam Bennett injuring Anthony Stolarz. We do have an update on Anthony Stolarz. We'll get to that in a second. But it was I'm going to come out and say it was a dirty play. It was intent to injure. I'm curious for your thoughts as well, and I'm curious to see everyone's thoughts in the comments as well. But let's jump right into it. We do have an update on Stolarz. We'll get to that in a second. But Anthony Stolarz left Scotiabank Arena on a stretcher last night. He ended up going to the hospital as well. I think it's just, for precautionary reasons. This is the protocol in place just to make sure there's nothing crazy going on, nothing too serious. But looks like he's sustained a concussion at this point. And there's a lot of speculation, we'll get to in a second, by doctors as well, coming out and saying that he probably sustained the concussion earlier in the game. But I do think that this play was an intent to injure from Sam Bennett, like you saw at the beginning of the video. Mark, what's your take on it? There's a lot of different stuff going on right now on different sides of things. A lot of Leaf fans are saying it's dirty. Sam Bennett should be suspended. We also know that Sam Bennett will not be suspended at this point. But what's your take on it?
I mean, the big thing is if you watch the replay of this, Sam Bennett doesn't even go for the puck when he's hitting Stolarz. His elbow comes out, he makes contact, skates through. We see Stolarz drop. The big thing with this is, and the most concerning thing about the league, is they didn't even pull him from a concussion protocol. We've seen the Leafs pull them because if they pulled him, Joseph Woll would have got time to warm up. But we've seen Stolarz go into intermission. He puked on the bench. They pulled him from the game. He left the arena on a stretcher. The fact that the league had nothing to do with this, they just left it. They did nothing. They just kind of give Bennett a, hey, don't do that again. This is ridiculous. This is a player that's Toronto's best player. Most of these playoffs standing on his head for a majority of the games. We've seen the run he's going on. Joseph Woll is still an incredible goalie, but the fact that the league has nothing to do with a repeat offender in Bennett is just ridiculous in my mind.
And I think it opens the door. A lot of people are not thinking about this either. Craig Berube came out and said that they're not going to look for retribution in the next game, right? They're going to play their game. They're going to stay disciplined, which they have been. It's been actually very impressive to watch, especially in that game one. But you do open the floodgates a little bit with this decision to kind of say, okay, game's on, right? Let's go after Bennett in the next game. If something stupid does happen in the next game, that's on the league for not suspending Sam Bennett for what he did here. And make no mistake about it, a lot of people are saying that this wasn't intent to injure. It wasn't an elbow to the head. I don't know if it was the most egregious elbow to the head I've ever seen, right? I'm not completely blind to that fact, but this was an intent to injure. He knew exactly what he was doing, and he did it, right? And I think that he should be suspended for it, or at least fined, just something, because now it's open season, I think. I don't think the Leafs are going to do anything, really, but I think they will stay disciplined, but it's absolutely ridiculous, and it shows that the league does not care about goalies or their players in general, because this continues to happen. Now, Paul Maurice did speak out on Sam Bennett and his elbow to the face. I also do want to mention that Sam Bennett was not made available to the media last night by the Florida Panthers, so if a player does nothing wrong, why are you holding him back from talking to the media? Thought that was very interesting as well. He went on to say that the referee is standing right there when it happens. You will do your thing. The league will do its thing. And I will coach the next game, hopefully. And, obviously he's going to be coaching the next game. But, in terms of the referee, right, it doesn't look that egregious if you watch it back. But we know what Sam Bennett's about, right? Like we saw last playoffs, he does that subtle punch. That is his signature move, like he's Roman Reigns in the WWE at this point. It's what he does where it doesn't look as egregious, but it's effective. He took out Brad Marchand, his teammate now, in last year's playoffs doing the same thing. He took out Matthew Nyes 2 years ago. This is what he does. This is his identity. He takes out players. This is what he is. So, Mark, I want your opinion on this too. I mean, it seems like the Panthers are doing the thing that they always do. They're doing something egregious, they do something dirty, and then they pretend like it never happened, and why is everyone overreacting, right? So that's what they continue to do. What's your thought on this and Paul Maurice's comments as well?
I mean, the big thing is you've seen Matthew Tkachuk at the end of the game going after Mitch Marner. This is another thing. The Panthers continue to get dirty, and they want to maybe not go out and end someone's career, but they want to make a statement. They're down in the game. They're being crybabies is the best way to put it. The big thing with this is I don't understand in the very moment how the refs did not call at least a 2-minute, a 4-minute. anything like that. We see Max Domi blow on Brad Marchand and get a cross-checking. This game seemed like it was going to go fine. The refs let it get out the window. We've seen a lot of physicality. Someone was due to get hurt from the refereeing standpoint, and we've seen that happen with Anthony Stolarz. But listen, looking at the quote from Maurice, this is the big thing. I don't blame him for not coming out and saying, hey, this is brutal. Suspend him. This is the head coach. You can't really do that. But not justifying that it was a bad play does kind of sit the wrong way. We've seen Craig Berube come out, and it does really seem like Chief looked at his players and said, hey, don't even talk about it. I'm handling this. He is fine with taking a fine if he has to. I don't know, Darius, this seems like an entire situation, the build up to it, the no call on the penalty, the Florida Panthers going on the power play, everything like this just seems like a ridiculous setup by the league, and that they just generally do not care about this, the players of the league and their product.
It's the biggest practical joke that they play on their fans every single year, where egregious things like this happen and they don't do anything about it, and then lesser penalties get more coverage, and they actually look at things. And I want to talk about the lack of suspension more specifically, because the league did come out, or the league didn't come out themselves, but through reports from Chris Johnson and others, we found out that, and first of all, if you look at this, it's absolutely egregious, the screenshot, but they did come out and say that they did take what happened in the first period, the shot off the mask, into consideration in this case, if they were going to suspend Bennett or not. I think that's absolutely ridiculous. I truly do respect the work that Chris does. I mean, Chris Nowinski, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, former WWE superstar and wrestler, has dedicated his life to, doing CTE research and really making sure that players are safe in any sport so they can live a very long and healthy life. Absolutely respect all the work that he's done. And he is probably onto something here, right? But to suggest that a player shouldn't be suspended because maybe you sustained the concussion, or the concussion started earlier in the game, I think is a little bit ridiculous. Chris also goes on to say that, the little head shake that Stolarz does is a sign of a concussion. I see goalies do that all the time. I'm not going to speculate whether that's right or wrong. I think that he's probably onto something. Again, he's dedicated his life to research on these things, so I don't want to get into that too much, but I do think that you can't take that into consideration, whether Stolarz was hurt earlier in the game, into, if you're going to suspend a player or not. And on top of it, like you talked about off the top, if he was injured earlier in the game, he was showing signs of that. Why wasn't he taken out earlier, right? It was only after the thing with Bennett in the second period, like 35 minutes later, did he show signs of a major concussion. He was throwing up on the bench and whatnot. So I think it's a little bit ridiculous. I want your take on this as well. Is this something that, should they take that into consideration? I think it's a bit ridiculous. And I also have to say that the shake and some of the protocols, Chris did go on to say that the league doesn't actually recognize these things. So I can understand why he wasn't pulled out, but that's just another thing to add fuel to the fire. And, you have to add more protocols.
And listen, I want to say first, if we took Bennett off the back of his jersey and you put Kadri there, this is a 10-game suspension. Yeah. Any day of the week in Toronto. George Pierce is a joke, let's be honest here. But looking at the fact that they're trying to look at the situation, say, hey, a puck to the helmet, he might have got a concussion. He gets hit in the head, knocked out of the game, throwing up, taken off in the stretcher. We can't take the full extent because he got hit with a puck. That's like saying, okay, you can fly and arm someone in the middle of a game if they take a puck to the face because, hey, if he gets hurt, it's not your fault. It was probably the puck the first period before that. In my mind, you have to look at all factors. Stolarz leaving the game after this malicious hit is the best way to put it. He goes in stride right into the face, takes him out. I don't think you can take into consideration, and yes, if Stolarz was out for an extended period of time because the concussion went up a grade, sure. Yes, do not give a full suspension for this, but you have to do something because, as we said, players are told not to go and retaliate, but in the moment, in the heat of moment, you see Sam Bennett in the corner, Jake McCabe, Benoit, these guys are not going to hold up and will probably throw a harder hit in the situation, which leads to a ripple effect of maybe another injury. And I don't want anyone hurt, but something may end up coming from this, Darius.
Absolutely. That's kind of what I was alluding to earlier, where I was like, things can really get out of hand here in game 2, and it's the league's fault at this point in time. And I do want to point out that, Chris wasn't using any of this as an example as to why Sam Bennett shouldn't be suspended, right? That was not the point of this. The point of Chris's tweets were to say, hey, maybe you should have seen the signs a little bit earlier, but unfortunately the league doesn't recognize a lot of these protocols that we should be putting forth. So there's just a lot. There's a lot of layers to this at this point. And hopefully Anthony Stolarz, the biggest thing, is okay. Sam Bennett is not going to face any supplemental discipline. The Leafs didn't see that coming at all. And Craig Berube spoke out today, just minutes ago, honestly, on if, Stolarz is going to play in game 2. And he said, we'll see. And he was asked if he has a concussion. He'll say, we'll see. And that's just the way Craig Berube conducts his business. We also have two other quotes I want to get to here before we wrap up. One of them is from Sam Bennett himself, and he said after the game, or not after the game, excuse me, it was this morning at the media availability at some of the skates. I heard that he went to the hospital last night, and Stoley's a good friend of mine, reached out to him, and he responded. Never want to see an injury like that. From my point of view, I'm just trying to take the puck to the net. I didn't even know we made contact until after, and I mean, I have to say, Sam Bennett's not going to come out and say anything like, yes, I absolutely intended to injure him, and I did injure him. He'll never come out and say that, but I mean, this is he is lying through his teeth, because we see the different angles, the replays, and he definitely did mean to do that, and he's done it in the past. And Paul Maurice also spoke out and said, most of this for me is tempered by the fact that Stoley is one of our guys. Obviously, Anthony Stolarz won the Stanley Cup with the Florida Panthers last year. We love that guy. If I had that thought that Sam had crossed the line or an edge, I'd probably be more careful with my words, and just didn't think it happened. So again, this is what the Panthers do. They've been doing this for years, so I don't think Leaf fans should get overly fired up about it. This is exactly their playbook, but I do think that this was suspension worthy for sure, because he has a track record of not only getting suspended but doing things like this, and I think it was a dangerous play. So Mark, any final thoughts on this? I mean, it looks like Stolarz is okay, which is the biggest thing, but I think that the NHL has a lot to work on here, and like you mentioned, the Department of Player Safety is an absolute joke. If it was Nazem Kadri, never before or since has somebody been suspended in Game 2 of a series for the rest of the series, or even in a Game 3 or Game 4. It's never happened, and only to a Toronto Maple Leaf did it happen. So I think it's a bit ridiculous. But any final thoughts?
I mean, if this is the player safety going out and saying, hey, we don't even care at this point. If he can play through it, do with it. This needs a complete overhaul. Stolar's health is number one. Listen, Leafs fans, we want a penalty on the play. We want Sam Bennett to be out Game 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever. But the biggest thing is Anthony Stolar's health. This concussion can shake a guy's career. We've seen Stolarz go through injuries. It was no head injuries, more knee injuries through his career, but the last thing you want to see is someone hurt. And the league's really showing that they don't really care. They let him stay through the game. If this was signs of a concussion, pull the guy. Don't let him play the entire 35 minutes. The league is here for this reason, and Darius, they're just not doing it at this point.
They're just not doing enough to protect their players, and this stuff continues to happen, and players know that they can get away with it, so they're going to continue to do it, just like Sam Bennett continues to do it. Dirty player, and I would argue dirty team as well. This is what they do. We saw the Matthew Tkachuk stuff with Mitch Marner after the final buzzer as well. So we'll see how this series progresses. It's going to be pretty electric, I think. But let us know in the comments what you think. And if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date with everything going on with the Toronto Maple Leafs, the Florida Panthers, and, of course, everything around the league.